Right, guys, the Spanish Armada, one of the biggest questions that dominates the Elizabethan period. Um, what led to the Spanish Armada? Right, so the build up to war. So we looked at Drake in the last video. The video before, we're kind of looking at that period up until the Treaty of Joinville. Um, so it's best to start off with Elizabeth taking that direct action. So Dutch Protestants come to Elizabeth and say, you can take over the Netherlands. This is huge, actually. This is massive. I mean, Netherlands belonging to England tips the balance of power a little bit. However, Elizabeth's got to be careful because by taking over the Netherlands, she's basically deposing Philip II, which could unite Catholic Europe against her. Which, fighting Spain is one thing, but fighting the rest of Europe is a no-go. So this is why she kind of declines. Instead, she signs the Treaty of Nonsuch with the Dutch Protestants. This was essentially puts her directly at war with Spain. It basically starts the Anglo-Spanish War because remember the Protestants are part of the Netherlands is part of the Spanish Empire, and the Dutch Protestants are rebels to the Spanish. So supporting the rebels means she's supporting an enemy of Spain, meaning she's going to be at war with them. Yeah. England basically financed an army of 7,400 troops to work with the rebels, and she chooses Robert Dudley, Earl of Leicester, who was once a suitor / potential secret lover. Right, let's go through this period, okay? There's an angry little red thing there. Right, so Elizabeth sent, again, raiding. We looked at this last time with Drake. Drake attacks settlements, disrupts flow of finances. Philip's angry, tells the Pope, I'm going to invade now. A good 15 years after the excommunication, the Pope's like, yeah, about time, yeah? I told you to do that ages ago. So, Dudley in the Netherlands, what's his role? Well, he's not given that much money or supplies, so he has an issue straight away. His campaign doesn't get off to a great start, but he takes the title of Governor General in the Netherlands. This is actually a bit of a problem because that implies the deposition of Philip as King of Netherlands, which, again, Elizabeth's trying to avoid being seen to do that. And in 86, he slows the advance of Duke of Parma and takes forts in Zutphen. In 87, he forces the English forces. They lose one fort when it's basically handed over by Rowland York. He then defects to the Spanish along with Sir William. So the Dutch are kind of like, who are these guys? Like, they come in, the men are helpers, and then they just go over to the enemy. So they don't really. Robert Dudley's essentially losing a lot of face with the Dutch Protestants. They're thinking, "Are you capable?" Yeah. So this isn't great. Not too good. Right. 87. I always big up this one. I think it is really important because it's important to the Battle of Armada itself. The port of Ostend. Leicester returns to the Netherlands, but he doesn't have enough supplies still. But he manages to basically keep Parma from getting the deep water port of Ostend. So important because a deep water port would mean the Armada can dock and be protected. Now, without the natural deep water port, the Armada has to drop anchor in open sea and then row the boats into a port. Now, this leaves them vulnerable, which Drake takes advantage of with the fire ships, which we'll get onto. Yeah, there we go. So Dudley comes back in 1587. So that's the end of his involvement. Last little bit then of the Dutch revolt. Make sure you do look at it because it's very important in this lead up to the Armada. Now, singeing bit of the king's beard. Basically, Spain is preparing the Armada, and Drake sails into Cadiz and burns the fleet, burns the supplies, delaying it by a year. Again, really important. Make sure you add in some details. He goes and attacks the Azores of Portugal as well. So just causing mayhem and being a nuisance, but really important because this year allows the English to prepare. So if you're thinking of a question like how did the Spanish Armada lose or how did the English win, that extra year to prepare was significant. Yeah, there we are. Just make sure you're taking a look at these. Okay. So again, just an example of the English attack on Cadiz. You see at the southern part of Spain. Okay, so why does he launch it? Again, you should be aware by now, but there's a nice little graphic of why they launched it. And this could be basically your points for any question linking to the Armada. Please make sure you do look at them. Kind of what I'd be expecting to see in any answer regarding it. I'll just read that little bit, top bit. Like I said with the Queen of Scots video, the execution's mistakenly seen as the launch, but really Philip had really planned this from 85. Okay, so what's the crack? Well, 130 ships, close to 2,500 guns, 30,000 men, the largest fleet the world has ever seen. Scary. The plan was to join up the Duke of Parma in the Netherlands and then march 27,000 men on London and replace Elizabeth with a Catholic monarch. Ooh. Right, so Drake's raid on Cadiz, it destroyed these barrels, right? This is important. So he destroys the barrels that would hold the food for the Armada. So this is all about supplies. The Spanish arrived basically with rotten food and not enough cannonballs. So think of that importance. That really affects their ability to fight this sea battle. The Duke Medina of Sidonia, he basically has no experience with naval warfare. And they have no large ports in North Netherlands because remember Dudley had stopped them getting into Ostend. So factors that leading to we can already see where this is going. Plus you've got the English fleet, the fast maneuverable warships that are being developed by John Hawkins, the galleon. But there wasn't actually that many, only 24 in the initial fleet. But they were really important because they could reload quickly and they could get broadside quicker. Now, basically, it doesn't matter how big and bad you are, big a ship you are. I mean, of course, size does matter. But the big ships, if you get side on the big ships before they get side on you, you can blow them to bits before they even get a shot off. So this is why it can be so important. English sailors, lots of experience. You know, Francis Drake and Lord Howard, really capable, strong commanders, whereas the Duke of Medina Sidonia is not. So you see an imbalance there. 6 times the amount of cannibals in a battle compared to the Spanish. That's huge, you know. Fire beacons are placed along the coast, so they're really well prepared, right? So, oh, what a lovely slide. Sorry, I should have edited that. My bad. But right, so literally just categorizing these a little bit. You got preparation, disruption using Cadiz. England have that extra year. Watchtowers to prepare. They've got the tactics and leadership. You know, the Howard and Drake are far more capable than Duke of Medina Sidonia. They block off that connection between Parma and the Duke. You know, the English use of fire ships to great effect at Gravelines. He also uses the fire ships to break up the crescent formation when they're anchored in open water. Elizabeth didn't get involved, didn't try to interfere the way Philip did with his. English had better ships, and the weather, good old English weather, blowing them around and smashing them up onto the shores. So again, just a quick overview. Make sure you're using this with other revision materials, but you know, again, like I say, if you need something to help you get to sleep, I'm sure me droning on talking about this would help. Right, I'll be back at some other point talking about key topic 3 and schools and Elizabethan times. Yes, so exciting.